Right, hello there everybody. Adam Clery from FourFourTwo here, and Joao Felix to Chelsea? No, me neither. Yep, no, that was the entire intro, right? Joao Felix is going back to Chelsea after he underwhelmed all season at Barcelona, after he underwhelmed for half a season at Chelsea. I am going to try and find the positives in this, but it's not exactly a transfer that gets your pants off, is it? Some talk right now is that such is the convoluted web of that is Chelsea's financial situation and transfer policy, that the only reason this deal is happening in the first place is because the Samu Omorodian, I can never say his name, that deal fell through, and Madrid can now not buy Conor Gallagher unless Chelsea give them a fat stack of cash to do so. So they just had to buy somebody, anybody from their squad, and as Joao Felix still has a Tesco club card and a Soho House membership, he made the most sense. But we're not getting into that, right? This is a tactics channel, and from a tactics perspective, Joao Felix, and I can't believe I'm saying this, does bizarrely make a lick of sense. And I know you'll find the positives in anything, this lad. So first up, let us look at the current Chelsea squad. Now, I will be fair here, right? I found this on Reddit. I think it was made by the guys at 90 Minutes, and it is slightly out of date, so it's not quite as bad as it looks. Now, obviously, this is way too many players, but they have moved Beach on. 𝗕𝗙𝗫𝗧𝗏 has gone on loan. Humphreys, I think, has just left today. 𝗕𝗫𝗧𝗏𝗏𝗏, is he at Southampton? I think I may have seen that somewhere. And I've just checked the internet, and 𝗕𝗏𝗏𝗍𝗏 has gone as well. Whoever that is. But, because it is slightly out of date, Pedro Neto isn't on this, so he needs to go in here along with Joao Felix. So that's like 5 young squad players out, 2 senior first-team players in. And that basically means of all the players in this area of the graph, you are allowed to pick 6 for any one game. So where the does Joao Felix go? Well, and let's get rid of this, all right? This was the starting lineup against Manchester City. And I can't believe I'm saying this, right? But for all the options Chelsea had in this game, all the subs they made, all the different things they tried to do, they were actually crying out, genuinely, for a player like Joao Felix. Because it's worth pointing out, by the way, this is not the sort of setup we were expecting to see from Maresca. He massively favours a 4-3-3, so it remains to be seen whether this is what his Chelsea side looked like or whether this is just how he wanted to set up to play against City. Because what we would normally expect is 1 player in the pivot, then 2 8 either side. And as we saw at Leicester, it's the role of one of these 8s to not just get up and sort of be a number 10, but to join in with the centre-forward play as well. But instead, against Man City, he had Caicedo and Lavia both sitting nice and deep, and he found a way to get Enzo Fernandez in this squad by using him simply as a number 10. And if you are a Chelsea fan and you really like Enzo, then I hope you won't mind me saying this, because I like him as well, but he was rubbish. Chelsea had his touch wasn't there. His instincts as a 10 aren't quite right. Like, don't get me wrong, there is a playmaking aspect to a number 10 where you're expected to drop off, get on the ball, create chances, feed your teammates, make things happen. Enzo's very good at that, but there's also an onus on you to be another goal threat. And that is, for all of his qualities, a part of his game that is absolutely rubbish. This is his heat map from the Manchester City match where there was ample opportunity to be a goal threat, to get in the box, to support Jackson, and instead, that's few and far between. Instead, he wants to float on the outside of the box or drop all the way back and get involved in the build-up. Like, if you look at his shooting numbers as well, he's never going to be somebody who provides you that kind of direct goal threat. Like, he gets a high volume of shots off, but if you look at the average distance of them, they're almost always long ranges from outside the box. And then if you also look at his clinicity, which I'm like 80% sure is a word, he scores very low for that. Like, he's not great at getting them on target, and this small decimal here means it basically works out that he needs like 20, 21, 22 shots per goal, which is a lot. And a quick one for those of you who care about XG, because I know that's not everybody. If you compare his actual goals output with the kind of output XG says he should have, he's even underperforming there. When you remove penalties from the equation, he is in the bottom 1% of Premier League midfielders for being good in front of goal. So, and I appreciate I haven't actually talked about the person who is the subject of this video, if Chelsea are amenable to playing this 4-2-3-1 and having someone in the pocket behind Nicholas Jackson, Enzo Fernandez, buddy, you just ain't that guy. But do you know who might actually be that guy? Joao Felix. Now, first up, was he largely crap for Barcelona last season? Yes, he was. And was he also largely crap for Chelsea the 6 months before that? Yes, also he was. And if we show you those exact same statistics that we just showed you for Enzo Fernandez, first off in his loan spell at Chelsea and also in his most recent season at Barcelona, he's not offering you anything different there, really. Like, startlingly similar to Enzo Fernandez, he winds up with this really high shot output, but when you start measuring the quality of those shots in terms of how many he needs to get a goal, where he's having them from, how many of them actually end up in the back of the net, how many of them end up in the back of the net comparative to what the XG says they should be ending up in the back of the net, that's really bad. That's really bad. So what gives? Like, Joao Felix is a player who's had a great reputation through most of his career as a deadly, intelligent, technically gifted player in the opposition box. So what's been going wrong for him the last 18 months? Well, the issue largely has been positional, right? This is his seasonal heat map from the last 12 months at Barcelona, and you can see he's doing everything almost on the left-hand side of Barcelona's attack. He will drift into the middle, yes, because he likes to do that, and he also offers a bit of a box threat because, well, he plays for Barcelona. You would expect that, but by and large, he is stuck all the way out here. And that's because, largely, there wasn't a number 10 position in Xavi's Barcelona. They had a 4-3-3 as well. Occasionally, they do something mad like stick Rafinha in one of the 8 positions so he could get up and support, but there was no direct sort of second striker pocket role. So Felix either had to play as the centre forward, which he was never going to do if Lewandowski is fit, or he was stuck all the way out here. And now let's look at his seasonal heat map from when he was at Chelsea. Now, it is a little bit more weighted into his favourite area because Lampard especially would occasionally use him as a false 9 and he would drop off or he'd play up front with Havertz. So he was occupying the central areas a little bit more, but also he was occasionally stuck all the way out on the left-hand side. And I mean, Chelsea fans, you won't need me to remind you of this. The back half of that season was about as cluttered and disorganised and all over the place as any team you've ever seen. So I'm not going to come down too hard on a player like Joao Felix for not really maximising the most of his minutes. That was hard to say. In the centre of the pitch. So, long story short, the nearer you can get Joao Felix to this favoured central area that allows him to either be a box threat when he's coming from a 10 or to drop off into it if he's playing as a centre forward and do a little bit of creation, the better he theoretically is, right? Well, if we go back one season further to when Madrid and Simeone were using him this way, those numbers then change dramatically. Like, he's still got the same high shot volume, but the quality of those shots is absolutely night and day. Like, they're way more accurate. They're from much better positions. When you compare them to the XG, starts to overperform, meaning there's a sort of deadliness to his finishing. And when you start looking through all his other stats from that season, you start to see the kind of player he's capable of being when he's used the right way. Like, his passing numbers massively improve as well when he's able to drop into the areas he wants to be in. He can create chances for his teammates. He can play the ball into the penalty area. He can play the ball into the final third. He can create high quality chances. Like, look at the assists. He was in the top 2% in La Liga for them last season. I think it's literally only Griezmann and Vinicius Jr. who are higher. And it gets even more impressive if you look at his off-the-ball numbers as well. Like, these are his defensive stats from that season. That is him top 1%, number 1 in the whole league for the amount of tackles won in the final third. So he wasn't just this great creative presence, he wasn't just this lethal goal scorer, he was a work rate machine as well. Simeone had him hounding players down. And how was he able to be so much better? Well, you take his heat maps from the seasons he was bad, and you compare them to the heat maps from the seasons in which he was good, and that is a completely different footballer playing a completely different brand of football. So you just put aside for 1 second how insanely mad Chelsea's windmill-powered transfer ideas machine is, and you look at this player here, and what have you got? You've got somebody who, when you play a system that has a lot of possession, that squeezes the opposition back, that requires a box threat from midfield, that presses high, Joao Felix is one, undoubtedly, of the best players in the world at doing that. But on the flip side, when you play a weird, incoherent brand of nothing ball and you have to stick him all the way out on the left and just tell him to get on with it, he is dog eggs. And thus, perversely, this might work out really well for Chelsea, because if Maresca is going to go from this 4-3-3 into instead a 4-2-3-1, that is a position in which Joao Felix would arguably thrive better than any of the 8 million players they already have on their books. Like, just to give you the most direct comparison imaginable, right, this was an unbelievable chance for Chelsea to find themselves in 1-0 against Man City, and Fernandes just does not have the game brain to bring this under control and create something out of it. It just bounces off him like he's a training cone. You put Joao Felix in that exact position, and that is where he comes alive. Weirdly, my worry for Chelsea in this deal is actually not about Joao Felix, because the pieces do seem to line up quite nicely for him to slot into this team. My worry is that, given that we know Fernandes doesn't really sit comfortably as the pivot in a 4-2-3-1, my God, we saw that last season, this creates yet another world-beating star in this squad on enormous wages who now doesn't feel like they're an instant part of that first 11. Like, to put that another way, what I mean is that this is yet another Chelsea transfer that does not address one of the current problems in the squad. It merely creates one all of its own. Unless, and we'll whisper this one very quietly, unless the plan is not to play him as a 10 or to play him on the left-hand side. The plan is to replace Nicholas Jackson with him. Because then, if you do stay as a 3 and you're actually playing him as a false 9 and he's dropping out of that position, all of a sudden any of the innumerable excellent Chelsea-wide players who like to attack the box, and possibly even a Fernandes or a 𝗕𝗫𝗓𝗏 doing it from a deep run in midfield, they've got the space to do that, and you've got this brilliant, technically gifted forward who will float all around to find the spaces that this movement creates and attack the box as and when he feels the need. Now, I mean, I don't think this actually will be the plan for Chelsea, because if this was some idea Maresca had in the back of his head, I think you would have seen them linked with all manner of similar centre-forwards across the summer. But it is nonetheless an option that suddenly avails itself to him. But obviously, trying to predict what Chelsea are going to do either in a transfer window or just a game of football is probably the stupidest thing I could do on this channel, so we'll leave it there. Now, of course, if you are a Chelsea fan, the comments section is right there. I have no idea how to feel about this team going into the season. I was very positive in pre-season, but the more mad things happen, the harder it becomes to convince yourself that it's all going to come together. So, what do you think? All thoughts, feelings, opinions, and even just starting 11s at this point, appreciate it down there, so please do go and fill your boots. I'm down to my last 2 weeks of reminding you all about this, but me, idiot boy with no knees, bad heart, and generally just quite physically pathetic, I am doing the Great North Run sooner than I wish it to be, but I'm doing it to raise money for Mind, who are a mental health charity here in the UK. I'll stick a link down below if you'd like to read about why this is a very important cause to me and why I'd really like to raise as much money as possible. And if you have got a couple of quids sitting down the back of the sofa or in your back pocket, any donations do go so much further than you would possibly believe. So they are gratefully received. Which does always feel like quite a weird thing to ask for when you're doing content on one human being who's going for like 30, 40 to 50 million. But regardless, back here in the real world, anything able to spare means the world. You get me on all the socials at Adam Clery, Clery. You should absolutely pick up a copy of 442, even though I haven't got one to hand in this video, from all good retailers, and the socials for the brand, they are in the corner of the video. And until next time, how long we got left in the transfer window? Like 8, 9 days or something like that? I've been Adam Clery. Who knows what's going to happen? But I'll see you when it does. Goodbye.